Hey everyone. Tonight we enter not through the Colosseum's gates, but through a smoky Roman tavern. The table is set with goblets of wine laced with herbs, powders of poppy resin, and a bowl of mushrooms that promise visions of gods. Senators sip until their lips turn pale. Soldiers inhale hemp smoke before marching, and emperors drift into sleep on honeyed opium. Dealers hawk their wares in open markets, selling intoxication beside spices and grain, while philosophers warn that drunkenness unleashes the darkest sins. This was not a hidden underworld. It was the bloodstream of the empire. Pleasure blurred with poison, medicine mingled with murder, and addiction seeped into every villa and battlefield. Rome was built on marble and conquest, but also on a haze of narcotics that shaped its fate. If the lost vices of history keep you curious, like and subscribe. And tell me, what hidden habit do you think toppled the empire first? You stand at the edge of this vast Roman world, a world not so different from your own in its yearning for escape. Imagine the sheer weight of existence here, the constant threat of war on distant borders, the gnawing specter of famine after a poor harvest, the chilling whispers of a plague sweeping through crowded tenements, taking loved ones with brutal swiftness. These weren't abstract fears. They were the very fabric of daily life, pressing down on every soul, from the lowliest slave to the most powerful senator. It is a reality that makes you understand the deep, almost primal need for respite, for a moment's reprieve from the relentless grind. So, where do you turn when the world feels too heavy here? In ancient Rome, you would find solace, or at least temporary forgetfulness, in potions crafted from the earth itself. The market stalls, bustling with life, offer not just the comforting scent of freshly baked bread or the vibrant colors of exotic silks, but also an array of substances promising to lift the veil of weariness. There are wines, of course, fermented with skill and sometimes laced with herbs you don't recognize. Their aromas mingling with the sweat and spice of the crowd. And then, there are the more potent remedies: cannabis, its earthy scent perhaps carried on a light breeze, a whisper of distant lands, and opium, a thick, dark resin that looks almost like hardened honey, promising a sweet oblivion. You might also glimpse dried, curious mushrooms, their shapes intriguing, hinting at visions beyond the ordinary. This wasn't a clandestine exchange, hidden in shadowed alleys. No, this was an open affair, a part of the everyday tapestry of the empire. You see a merchant, his hands gnarled from years of work, meticulously arranging small ceramic jars filled with powders, vials of fragrant oils, and bundles of dried herbs. He sells them right alongside the grains that feed the city, the spices that flavor its food, and the woven cloths that warm its people. To him, and to you, it feels entirely natural. The lines between sustenance, comfort, and altered states of consciousness are blurred to the point of disappearing. You observe the interactions: a young soldier, his face etched with the fatigue of a recent campaign, haggling over a small pouch of poppy resin. He listens intently as the dealer, with an almost paternal air, advises him on the best way to prepare it, perhaps suggesting a specific wine to mix it with, or a precise dose to ensure the strongest, most enduring peace. There's no judgment in this exchange, no sense of wrongdoing. It is simply a transaction for a commodity, a tool for living in a demanding world. You see women, their children clinging to their tunics, pausing to eye a selection of herbs, some perhaps for cooking, others for easing an aching back, and still others for a deeper slumber. This openness strikes you. There are no hushed tones, no furtive glances. The substances are neither taboo nor illegal. They are woven into the very fabric of Roman society, as commonplace as the olive oil in your lamp or the sandals on your feet. From the marbled halls of the emperor's palace, where the finest, most potent varieties are prepared with meticulous care, to the cramped, dark quarters of the slaves, who might pool their meager earnings for a shared moment of relief. No one is untouched. You realize that this pervasive use isn't just about indulgence. It's about survival, about coping, about finding a way to simply be in a world that often felt harsh and unforgiving. It's a quiet understanding that permeates the very air you breathe, a silent agreement that sometimes forgetfulness is the kindest balm. As you step away from the clamor of the market, you find yourself wandering through a Roman villa's garden, a place usually associated with tranquility and beauty. The air is warm and fragrant, a gentle breeze rustling through the leaves of fig trees and the delicate petals of roses. You pass beds of lush, green lettuce, neatly arranged rows of various vegetables, and the soothing purple spikes of lavender. Their scent a balm to your senses. It's a picture of domestic serenity, a testament to the Roman love for order and cultivation. But as your gaze drifts across these verdant spaces, a different kind of plant catches your eye. There, nestled among the familiar herbs and flowering shrubs, you see fields of poppies. Their petals, a vibrant red or a pure, startling white, sway gently in the breeze. They are beautiful, undeniably so. Yet there's an unsettling quality to them once you know their secret. You recall the words of the revered poet Virgil, who, in his wisdom, even described the precise methods for sowing opium poppies, treating them with the same natural regard as any other crop. You might imagine a farmer, his hands dusted with soil, planting these seeds with the same methodical care he would dedicate to his grains or legumes. You lean closer, your eyes tracing the smooth, round pods that emerge once the petals fall. If you were to nick one of these pods, a milky white sap would ooze forth the raw material for opium, a substance that holds both the promise of profound peace and the shadow of certain death. These vibrant, colorful gardens, so outwardly innocent, are in fact hiding lethal secrets in plain sight. It's an almost surreal realization, this juxtaposition of life-giving sustenance and potential poison, growing side by side. You observe women and children moving through these very rows. A mother might gather fresh herbs for dinner, her daughter skipping beside her, her small hand reaching out to touch a poppy petal without a second thought. There's no fear in their movements, no concern in their eyes. For them, planting these particular flowers is as natural as planting a lettuce patch for the evening meal. You realize that the concept of drugs as a separate, forbidden category simply doesn't exist in the same way it might in your own time. Here, plants with psychoactive properties are simply part of the botanical landscape, another gift or challenge from Mother Earth. This acceptance is profound. Imagine cultivating intoxication in your own backyard, weaving the very agents of altered consciousness into the fabric of your home life. It means that the means of escape, of healing, and of danger are always close at hand, literally growing outside your window. The Roman world wasn't just consuming these substances, it was actively producing them, integrating them into its agricultural rhythms and its domestic routines. This inherent accessibility, This deep-rooted connection to the earth and its potent offerings shapes the Roman psyche in ways that are hard for you to fully grasp. It suggests a familiarity, an intimacy, with these substances that transcends mere usage, hinting at a profound, unacknowledged pact between the people and their potent flora. The gardens, serene and beautiful, whisper tales of hidden power, silently confirming that the empire itself was cultivating its own haze, its own journey into the realms of altered perception. The Roman world, as you immerse yourself in it, pulsates with the presence of wine. It is more than just a drink. It is a life force, a constant companion to existence itself. You find it flowing like a river through every facet of daily life. From the solemnity of sacred rituals, where it's poured as an offering to the gods, its crimson liquid staining the earth, to the hushed reverence of funerals, where a goblet might be left beside a tomb, a final toast to the departed. And then there are the festivals, riotous and joyous, where wine spills freely, fueling laughter and dancing that stretch late into the Roman night. You stand in a bustling taberna, the air thick with the scent of aged grapes, garlic, and sweat. Wealthy patricians, their tunics finely woven, sit at marble tables, cradling their goblets with an air of profound connoisseurship. They might debate the vintage of a particular Falernian, discussing its nuances of flavor with the same intensity you might reserve for a work of art. They prided themselves on their ability to identify the origin of a wine, its very soil and sun captured in its taste. For them, wine was a status symbol, a mark of refined taste and education, to be savored and discussed in philosophical tones. But then, you glance towards the rougher corners of the establishment, where the poor gather, their faces lined with toil. For them, wine is not about delicate bouquets or nuanced aftertastes. It is about strength, a fortification against hunger and exhaustion, a temporary warmth in the belly after a long day of labor. You might see a weary legionary, his armor still dusty from a day's march, downing a cup, believing it will restore his vigor, enhance his virility. There's a raw, almost desperate quality to their consumption, a search for basic comfort and a fleeting sense of power. Yet, even as wine offers solace and status, a darker current runs beneath its surface. You hear the echoes of the great philosophers, men like Pliny the Elder and Seneca, their voices of warning seeming to drift through the smoky air of the tavern. They spoke of drunkenness not as a mere lapse in judgment, but as a gateway to profound moral decay. They warned that excessive wine unleashed the darkest sins leading men to crime, inflaming lusts that destroyed families, and ultimately, paving a path to utter ruin. Their words were stark, a stark contrast to the carefree abandon you might witness around you. You recall tales of figures like General Mark Antony, his reputation inextricably linked to his legendary heavy drinking. His name conjures images of opulent banquets, tables laden with exotic dishes, and goblets emptied again and again, until laughter turned to slurred boasts, and then to aggressive arguments. You might imagine soldiers, after a hard-won battle or even just a long day of drills, staggering through the streets, their discipline momentarily forgotten, their shouts echoing in the night. The stories grow darker still, of slaves, compelled to serve their masters' endless feasts, collapsing from exhaustion, perhaps even dying from the sheer physical toll of the excess. The scenes painted by these accounts are vivid and unsettling: the clatter of silver platters, the scent of spilled wine mingling with vomit, the sound of raucous singing giving way to the silence of someone fallen. You realize that wine, for all its sacred symbolism and its role in fostering camaraderie, also held the power to unravel men, to expose their basest instincts, and to bring about destruction. It was a mirror reflecting the Roman soul, showing both its disciplined grandeur and its capacity for chaotic indulgence. It makes you wonder how such a prevalent and accepted substance could simultaneously be so revered and so reviled. A constant dance on the edge of pleasure and peril. You are now in the quiet, almost sterile confines of a Roman sick room, far removed from the boisterous taverns and fragrant gardens. The air here is still, carrying the faint, earthy scent of medicinal herbs and the metallic tang of something less pleasant. You see a patient lying on a simple couch, their breathing shallow, their skin clammy. It's a scene of vulnerability, a reminder that even in the mighty Roman Empire, illness and suffering were constant companions. In this delicate balance between life and death, opium emerges as a central, paradoxical player. You recall the vivid, almost clinical descriptions of Greek physicians like Nicander, whose ancient texts detail the grim reality of opium poisoning. He spoke of a cold sweat beading on the victim's brow, lips swollen and pale, breath coming in faint, ragged gasps, each one a struggle. You can almost feel the chilling touch of that clammy skin, hear the shallow wheeze of the failing lungs. And Dioscorides, another renowned physician, was even more blunt in his assessment. It kills. His words hang in the air like a pronouncement, a stark warning of opium's ultimate power. In these desperate moments, primitive attempts at cures were enacted, often born of a terrifying blend of limited knowledge and sheer panic. You might witness a frantic attendant slapping the victim's face, shaking them roughly, perhaps shouting their name, desperate to rouse them from the encroaching stupor. It's a heartbreaking scene of impotence against a relentless poison, a testament to the lack of understanding surrounding dosage and effect. Yet, turn the page in a medical text or listen to the wisdom of someone like Pliny, and you find opium hailed as a miraculous remedy. He listed it as a potent treatment for conditions as diverse as epilepsy, liver disease, and even the excruciating pain of scorpion bites. Imagine the hope, the profound relief that such a promise would bring to someone suffering an agonizing ailment. You can almost feel the burning sting of a scorpion's venom or the debilitating seizures of epilepsy, and understand why any substance offering such profound relief would be embraced, even revered. This is where the line truly blurs. The line becomes incredibly fine, almost invisible. Medicine mingles dangerously with poison. The very same dose that could soothe chronic pain or induce a much-needed sleep could, with just a slight miscalculation, snuff out a life. You picture a Roman patient, perhaps an elderly man racked with a painful disease, his hand trembling as the physician, his face a mask of concentrated calm, carefully drips a viscous liquid, prepared from opium, into a cup of wine. The patient watches, holds his breath, fully aware that this potent concoction holds both the promise of release from suffering and the potential for a final, irreversible departure. It's a moment of profound trust and profound risk. You feel the tension in the room, the weight of the decision hanging heavy. Life, in this Roman sick room, is lived on a razor's edge, balanced precariously between relief and oblivion, all thanks to the enigmatic power of the poppy's gift. The substance isn't inherently good or evil. Its nature is determined entirely by the hand that administers it, and the knowledge or lack thereof that guides that hand. It highlights a dangerous reality where intention alone couldn't always guarantee safety. A haunting reminder of the delicate dance with life and death that Romans often performed. You are now granted a rare, intimate glimpse into the private chambers of Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Not as the Stoic philosopher king you know from history, but as a man seeking solace in the stillness of night. The heavy velvet drapes are drawn, softening the candlelight, casting long, dancing shadows across the rich tapestries and polished marble. The air is warm, perhaps scented with frankincense, creating an atmosphere of quiet contemplation. Yet, beneath this serene surface, you sense a deep, persistent restlessness. Imagine the weight of the Roman Empire resting on your shoulders, the constant stream of decisions, the endless petitions, the burden of war and governance. Even a mind as disciplined and philosophical as Aurelius's must yearn for true oblivion at the end of such a demanding day. And so, as the day's duties recede, you witness a ritual unfolding. His court physicians, their faces serious and attentive, prepare his nightly draft. It is opium, yes, but mixed with the soothing sweetness of honey. A blend designed to lull the emperor into a peaceful slumber, to grant him the sleep that his burdened mind otherwise denies him. You observe the meticulousness with which this is done. The physicians, skilled in their craft, carefully adjust the dose, a delicate balance they have learned through trial and error. Too little, and the emperor remains awake, his thoughts swirling. Too much, and the morning might bring a sluggishness that impedes the day's critical tasks. This precision suggests a deep understanding, born of necessity and repeated practice, of the drug's effects. Over time, Marcus Aurelius himself, perhaps out of a scholar's curiosity or simply an emperor's desire for control, becomes a connoisseur of his own sleep-inducing elixir. You can imagine him, a thoughtful expression on his face, discussing the quality of the poppy resin with his physicians, suggesting alterations to the recipe, perhaps a different honey or an added herb to achieve just the right degree of tranquility. He is no longer merely a patient. He is an active participant in crafting his nightly descent into slumber, intimately familiar with the nuances of his narcotic comfort. This duality is striking. By day, you see him, the great Stoic emperor, presiding over the vast Roman world, his wisdom and discipline guiding its destiny. He embodies strength, reason, and self-control, virtues he so eloquently preached in his meditations. But by night, as the heavy mantle of leadership is temporarily set aside, he quietly surrenders to the power of narcotics. His reliance on opium is not hidden, nor is it viewed as a weakness or an addiction in the modern sense. Instead, it is considered a refined form of medicine, a practical tool for managing the immense pressures of his office. You realize that even the philosopher king, the very embodiment of Roman ideal, is bound to this drug. His Stoic principles, which taught him to endure suffering and control his emotions, could not conquer the physical need for rest that the opium provided. It highlights a universal human vulnerability, a profound need for escape from pain or relentless thought, regardless of status or intellect. The soft light of his bedchamber, the gentle hum of his breathing once the draft takes effect, become a silent testament to the pervasive influence of these substances, touching even the most powerful and seemingly unshakable figures in the empire. His sleep, bought with opium, is a quiet powerful symbol of how deeply intertwined these substances were with the very fabric of Roman life, even at its apex. As you delve deeper into the Roman understanding of opium, you uncover yet another layer to its complex nature, far beyond mere medicine or sleep aid. You find yourself contemplating decisions made at the furthest edges of human experience, the choice to embrace an ending, or the chilling decision to enforce one. The Roman world, in its pragmatic and sometimes brutal wisdom, held a surprising acceptance of suicide, particularly for the old and the infirm. It wasn't always seen as a sin, but sometimes as a noble, dignified exit from a life that had become too burdensome. Imagine an elderly citizen, perhaps a revered paterfamilias, his body ravaged by a relentless illness, his days filled with chronic pain. You might picture him surrounded by his family, their faces etched with sorrow, but also with a quiet understanding. For such individuals, opium offered a path to what was considered a gentle death. They could choose to drift away, not in agony or despair, but on a wave of narcotic calm. You can almost feel the softness of the bed beneath them, hear the low murmurs of farewells, as the prepared draught of opium slowly, peacefully, carries them into an eternal slumber. It was a final act of self-determination, a quiet surrender to the inevitable, made palatable by the poppy's merciful embrace. The air would be thick with a bittersweet sadness, a profound acceptance of life's natural end, softened by the profound peace offered by the drug. But then, the narrative shifts, and the comforting veil of acceptance is brutally torn away. Opium, this same agent of gentle release, could also be twisted into a silent, insidious weapon of murder. Its very potency, its ability to induce an unshakable sleep, made it a perfect tool for those who sought to eliminate rivals or consolidate power without the messy spectacle of a public execution. You imagine the chill that would run down your spine at the thought of such a betrayal. The horror of trusting a substance meant for healing, only to find it delivering death. One of the most infamous whispers of this dark side surrounds Emperor Nero, a name synonymous with ruthless ambition. The story, recounted in hushed tones, speaks of a lavish banquet, the air filled with laughter, the clinking of goblets, and the sweet scent of exotic foods. Among the guests, a young boy, Britannicus, Nero's 13-year-old stepbrother and potential rival. He sits at the table, perhaps sharing a joke, his youthful innocence contrasting with the adult machinations around him. Then, a cup is offered, seemingly innocent, perhaps even a cooling drink, but in its depths, a lethal dose of opium. You visualize the scene one moment, the vibrant sounds of the feast, the warmth of camaraderie. The next, a sudden hush, a gasp. The boy collapses, his young life snuffed out in an instant. A silent act of political assassination disguised amidst the revelry. The joy of the banquet transforms into a chilling tableau, a stark reminder of the brutal power plays that defined Roman politics. Opium, the bringer of peace, thus becomes a political dagger, a tool wielded with cold precision in the ruthless pursuit of power. This contrast is stark, almost unbearable. The same substance that could offer a compassionate exit from suffering could also be deployed with unimaginable cruelty. It forces you to confront the dual nature of these potent agents, reflecting the very duality of human nature itself, the capacity for both profound empathy and chilling malevolence. all channeled through the unassuming poppy. The story of opium in Rome is thus a story of both profound comfort and profound cruelty, a haunting echo of the empire's own glorious and brutal history. Stepping beyond the realm of opium's double-edged power, you now enter a more shadowy, unsettling territory of Roman pharmacology. It's a place where the mind itself becomes the playground, warped and twisted by potent botanicals. You hear whispers of plants like mandrake, its roots resembling small, grotesque human figures, rumored to shriek when pulled from the earth. Belladonna, beautiful yet deadly, its dark berries holding a sinister allure. Wormwood, with its bitter taste and potent effects. And henbane, a plant with a reputation for inducing delirium and madness. These aren't just remedies. They are agents of profound mental alteration, capable of taking you far from the familiar shores of reality. Consider wormwood, for instance. You might encounter it in the form of a wine, its bitterness softened by other flavors, perhaps consumed at a gathering seeking not mere relaxation, but a heightened state of being. Those who partook spoke of euphoria, a soaring sensation, and a rush of creative energy, as if the muses themselves had whispered directly into their minds. You can imagine the vivid conversations, the spontaneous bursts of poetry, the feeling of ideas flowing freely and brilliantly. Yet, this intoxicating freedom came at a terrible cost. The same plant that opened pathways to inspiration also caused neurological damage, eroding the very faculties it seemed to enhance. It was a bargain with the devil, exchanging fleeting genius for lasting harm. Archaeological discoveries from places like Pompeii offer tangible evidence of these potent mixtures. You can almost feel the dust of ages on your fingers as you imagine examining amphorae, the ancient storage jars uncovered from the volcanic ash. These vessels, once filled with liquid, now yield secrets through modern analysis traces of cannabis, its familiar earthy signature, opium, still holding its dark allure, and, chillingly, henbane. These weren't isolated ingredients. They were components of elaborate cocktails, suggesting an intentional blending to achieve specific, powerful effects on the mind. What strange concoctions were Romans drinking in the shadow of Vesuvius? What worlds were they trying to enter? The stories of individual lives touched by these potent brews resonate with a quiet horror. You hear the tragic tale of the poet Lucretius, a man whose brilliant mind gave us On the Nature of Things, a profound work of philosophy. Yet, legend whispers that he lost his sanity, his intellect unraveling, after consuming a wormwood potion allegedly prepared by his own wife. You can feel the profound sadness, the sense of a beautiful mind destroyed, a testament to the unpredictable and often devastating power of these substances when misused. Even seemingly innocuous plants held a hidden danger. Daffodils, commonly cultivated for their beauty, were also utilized for pain relief. But you discover that in the wrong preparation or dose, they could induce terrifying delirium. Imagine taking something for comfort, only to descend into a world of confusion and terror. The impact on Roman social gatherings must have been profound. Banquets, often synonymous with elegant discourse and refined pleasure, could transform into scenes of chaotic madness. You might witness some guests erupting in uncontrollable laughter, their faces flushed, their eyes wide with a mirth that seemed to have no root in reality. Others, meanwhile, might be convulsing in terror, their bodies rigid, their minds trapped in a nightmare from which there was no immediate escape. The boundaries of sanity and reality so carefully constructed in daily life, shattered under the influence of these mind-bending brews. It makes you realize that the quest for altered states was not always a gentle journey. Sometimes, it was a terrifying plunge into the abyss of the unknown, a gamble with the very core of one's identity. Beyond the realm of mere physical relief or even chaotic delirium, you uncover a Roman desire for something more profound, a direct communion with the divine, a journey into other realities. Here, the substances consumed were not just for pleasure or medicine, but for genuine spiritual exploration, a quest to touch the very edges of existence. You learn that hallucinogenic mushrooms, their shapes varied and mysterious, were consumed by the highest echelons of Roman society. Imagine emperors, those who commanded legions and shaped the destiny of nations, willingly entering altered states, seeking visions or insights that their daily lives could not provide. These weren't secretive, underground rites. They were likely integrated into elite gatherings, perhaps cloaked in a veil of mystical significance. Then there's the curious case of the dream fish of the Mediterranean. Imagine yourself dining at a seaside villa, the air salty and cool. On your plate, a fish, perhaps the sarpa salpa or a similar species, prepared and served. Unbeknownst to many, its particular organs, when consumed, possess the power to send diners into vivid, lifelike visions. You might find yourself drifting into a waking dream, the sounds of the banquet fading as intricate, otherworldly landscapes unfold behind your closed eyelids. For the Romans, these experiences were not just about personal enjoyment. There was a profound, almost sacred aspect to them. People claimed to meet gods, to converse with spirits from the underworld, or to wander through other worlds entirely, realms beyond the grasp of ordinary human perception. Imagine the compelling narratives that would emerge from such trips. Stories told with wide eyes and hushed voices, weaving a tapestry of mystical encounters that would surely deepen one's understanding of the cosmos. For a society deeply rooted in polytheistic beliefs, where gods and spirits were ever present, these experiences offered tangible proof of their existence, a direct channel to the divine. Yet, as with all powerful substances, there was a dark shadow cast over these mystical journeys. You hear the cautionary tales, the unsettling accounts of those who embarked on these trips and never truly returned to sanity. Their minds, stretched and reshaped by the powerful hallucinogens, became fractured. Unable to reconcile the realities they had witnessed with the mundane world they were forced to inhabit. The communion with the divine, in these tragic instances, became a permanent exile from the self. You picture the scene in imperial banquet, not just with the usual fare of roasted venison and exotic fruits, but with bowls of these potent mushrooms and plates of the enigmatic dream fish. Guests, their faces illuminated by the flickering oil lamps, might begin their journeys. Some might stare into the distance, a serene smile on their lips, lost in visions of mythical beasts or heavenly landscapes. Others might whisper to unseen entities, their eyes wide with wonder or perhaps a touch of fear. You can almost hear the soft hum of conversation, punctuated by moments of profound silence. As individuals delve into their own personal cosmos, the air itself seems to shimmer with unseen possibilities, a tapestry of shared, yet intensely private, altered realities. This wasn't merely indulgence. It was an attempt to transcend, to seek meaning beyond the mundane, to commune with forces greater than humanity itself. It highlights a profound yearning within the Roman soul, a desire to pierce the veil of everyday existence and touch the sacred. even if it meant risking sanity for a glimpse of the gods. Your journey through Roman intoxication now takes you to the fringes of the empire, tracing the origins of another widespread substance, cannabis. This plant, with its distinctive leaves and earthy scent, made its way to Rome not from within its own cultivated gardens, but from the vast, wind-swept plains of Asia. Carried by the nomadic Scythians, imagine the rugged, fierce tribesmen, their lives intimately bound to their horses and the open land, introducing a new kind of sensory experience to the more settled Romans. You picture a scene from the Scythian steppes, a group of warriors gathered inside a felt tent, the air thick and warm. In the center, a small fire glows, and on its hot stones, they cast handfuls of hemp seeds. The seeds crackle and pop, releasing fragrant clouds of smoke. The Scythians, stoic and hardy, inhale deeply, their faces slowly softening, perhaps a quiet smile playing on their lips. It's a ritual passed down through generations, a way to relax, to bond, to find a moment of peace after a long day of riding or battle. This fumigation method, raw and direct, was their ancient pathway to the plant's effects. As the Roman Empire expanded, its tendrils reaching out to encompass distant cultures, it naturally absorbed these new practices. You see the Romans, ever pragmatic and adaptable, adopting this very method for consuming cannabis and other herbs. Perhaps they refined it, moving from simple hot stones to more elaborate braziers. But the essence remained the same, inhaling the smoke for its intoxicating properties. Pliny the Elder, ever the meticulous observer of the natural world, even coined a playful name for cannabis, the laughing weed. This simple description tells you so much about its prevalent effect. Imagine the Roman equivalent of a social gathering, perhaps a private dining party where wine is flowing and conversation is lively. Then, a prepared mixture, perhaps cannabis infused into the wine, is passed around, or a brazier begins to emit a sweet, earthy smoke. Galen, another respected physician and commentator, described these very scenes, recalling parties that would erupt with joyous, almost uncontrollable laughter under the influence of cannabis fumes. You can almost hear it, a ripple of chuckles starting in one corner of the room, spreading like wildfire, until the entire banquet hall is echoing with uninhibited giggles. The typical Roman decorum, so often observed, would momentarily dissolve into a shared, light-hearted delirium. The air would grow hazy with the sweet, pungent smoke, mingling with the scent of roasted meats and sweet perfumes. Faces, usually composed, would be flushed with mirth, eyes sparkling. You might see individuals leaning back on their couches, their bodies relaxed, their conversations meandering into delightful absurdity. It wasn't the intense, mind-bending journey of mushrooms, nor the heavy oblivion of opium, but a lighter, more social intoxication, one that encouraged camaraderie and unburdened joy. This widespread use of cannabis for pleasure and social bonding reveals another facet of Roman life. It wasn't just about escaping pain or seeking divine visions. It was also about enhancing the simple pleasures of life, finding common ground in shared amusement. The laughing smoke, drifting through banquet halls and private homes, represents a more convivial side of Roman drug use, a desire for lightness and merriment in an often serious world. It adds another color to the vast tapestry of Roman sensory experiences, a soft, hazy hue of shared, gentle intoxication. As your immersive journey through the Roman Empire's hidden vices draws to a close, you find yourself reflecting on the sheer scale and depth of what you've witnessed. This wasn't a fringe phenomenon, a secret subculture relegated to the shadows. No, drugs, wine, and hallucinogens were not mere occasional indulgences or desperate habits. They were deeply interwoven threads in the very fabric of Roman life. They shaped the culture, influencing everything from social customs and medical practices to political intrigues and personal destinies. You stand at the heart of this mighty empire, built on marble and conquest. Yet now you see it also built on a persistent haze of intoxication. The image of the empire transforms for you. It is no longer just a collection of grand monuments and powerful legions, but a vast network of individuals constantly navigating the knife edge between pleasure and death, healing and harm, clarity and oblivion. Imagine the weary soldiers, returning from grueling campaigns in distant lands, their minds scarred by the horrors of battle, finding solace not just in the arms of loved ones, but in the numbing comfort of a poppy draft. A temporary escape from the waking nightmares of the battlefield. And then, consider the emperors, like Marcus Aurelius, whose immense responsibilities denied them natural rest, relying on honeyed opium to buy a few hours of precious sleep. Their grand visions and strategic decisions perhaps subtly influenced by the residual effects of their nightly medicine. The mightiest empire on earth, you realize, was fueled by this constant undercurrent of intoxication. It provided escape, fostered camaraderie, eased pain, inspired visions, and even offered a dignified exit from life. It was a silent partner in the daily struggles and grand achievements of Rome, a constant presence that shaped both its private moments and its public persona. What strikes you most profoundly is the Romans' unacknowledged understanding of these substances. They didn't have your modern scientific terminology, but they intuitively knew of tolerance the need for increasing doses to achieve the same effect. They understood addiction, witnessing the profound dependence some developed, and they certainly knew of withdrawal, seeing the agony of those suddenly deprived of their accustomed balm. Yet, despite this awareness, this intuitive knowledge of the dangers, the empire and its people largely surrendered to these potent plant allies and fermented concoctions. The allure, the relief, the promise of altered perception proved too strong to resist for the vast majority. You look out over the ancient city, the setting sun casting long, golden shadows over its ruins, and a quiet, profound lesson settles upon you. Sometimes, the unraveling of even the most formidable empires doesn't begin with grand invasions or catastrophic economic collapses. Sometimes, the seeds of downfall are sown subtly, quietly, in the smallest of indulgences, in the pervasive, unexamined habits that seep into the bloodstream of a civilization. The Romans, in their quest for comfort, escape, and connection, reveal a universal human truth that even the most powerful among us can be bound by the intoxicating desires of the spirit and the flesh, and that these seemingly minor habits can, over time, subtly reshape a destiny. And as night falls gently over this ancient world, you are left with the quiet understanding that the empire's fate was not just carved in stone, but also whispered in the haze of countless intoxicating dreams. If the lost vices of history keep you curious, like and subscribe, and tell me, what hidden habit do you think toppled the empire first? As I close my eyes, I find myself imagining the sprawling heart of Rome in the year 64 CE. A city still reeling, still scarred from the devastating Great Fire. The air, though years removed from the immediate aftermath, still carried the faint, smoky scent of loss, the ghost of ashes clinging to the very fabric of daily life. In the midst of this urban tapestry of rebuilding and quiet struggle, Emperor Nero, a figure often painted in stark colors by history, embarked on a project of breathtaking, almost audacious, extravagance. He envisioned and then brought into being his infamous Domus Aurea, or Golden Palace, a sprawling private estate that devoured a significant portion of Rome's choicest real estate. This was not merely a house, it was a personal kingdom, a gilded dream manifested in stone, marble, and, as its name suggests, an almost unimaginable amount of gold. I picture the scene: vast tracts of land, once home to bustling marketplaces and humble dwellings, abruptly seized by imperial decree. The whispers among the citizenry would have been palpable, a low hum of discontent weaving through the narrow streets. Here they were, the common people, striving to reconstruct their lives, their homes, their livelihoods, after a catastrophe, while their emperor indulged in a fantasy of unparalleled luxury. Nero's palace was a stark, glittering contrast to the soot-stained reality of Roman life, a symbol not just of wealth, but of an almost absolute, unyielding power that seemed detached from the very people it was meant to serve. Imagine the lavish banquets held within those walls, the air thick with exotic perfumes and the sounds of lyres, while just beyond, ordinary Romans struggled for daily bread. The palace even featured an artificial lake, a shimmering, private expanse of water where citizens once walked, now reserved solely for the emperor's pleasure. It was a clear, undeniable statement, etched in gold and marble, of Nero's boundless ambition and his profound disconnect from the public's needs. This audacious act of self-indulgence sowed deep seeds of resentment, nurturing a public outrage that simmered beneath the surface of Roman society, a quiet but potent force that would ultimately shape the city's destiny in ways Nero could never have foreseen. The very ground upon which the Golden Palace stood, a testament to one man's ego, would soon become the stage for a monument of an entirely different kind, born from a desire to heal those old wounds and restore a sense of civic pride. It is a powerful reminder, I believe, that even the most extravagant displays of power often pave the way for something entirely new. As the tapestry of Roman history unfolds, Nero's reign, marked by both brilliance and tyranny, eventually dissolved into chaos. The year 69 CE brought with it a turbulent period, a time of civil war known as the Year of the Four Emperors, where the very fabric of the empire seemed to fray at the edges. From this volatile crucible emerged a new leader, a man named Vespasian, whose ascent to power I find particularly compelling. He was not born into the purple of imperial aristocracy. Rather, he hailed from more modest origins, a man of practical experience and a pragmatic disposition. This background, I believe, was crucial in shaping his vision for Rome. I imagine his entry into the city, not with the ostentatious parades Nero might have favored, but with a quiet, reassuring presence. Vespasian understood, perhaps better than any before him, the profound weariness of the Roman people, exhausted by conflict and disillusioned by imperial excess. His image, carefully cultivated and genuinely felt, was one of humility, of a soldier emperor focused on stability and the public good. He was a stark contrast to his predecessor, a breath of fresh air after the stifling opulence of Nero's court, where Nero had built for himself. Vespasian looked to build for Rome. And so, with a shrewd understanding of both politics and public sentiment. Vespasian made a powerful promise he would construct a grand public amphitheater, a magnificent arena for the people. But the location he chose was not just any piece of land. It was a masterstroke of symbolic reclamation. He decided, with deliberate intent, to place this new public monument directly upon the very grounds where Nero's extravagant golden palace once stood, specifically over the footprint of Nero's private artificial lake. I can almost hear the collective sigh of relief, the murmur of approval that would have rippled through the city at such a declaration. This act, for me, resonates deeply. It was more than just an architectural decision. It was a profound political statement, a powerful gesture of restitution. Vespasian was not simply building a stadium. He was symbolically dismantling the legacy of a reviled tyrant and, in its place, raising a monument dedicated to the collective spirit and enjoyment of the Roman citizens. He was returning Rome's heart to its people, transforming a symbol of imperial self-indulgence into a vibrant center of public life. This quiet promise, made by a grounded emperor, laid the very first stones for one of history's most enduring and iconic structures, ensuring that the Colosseum's origins were not just about engineering, but about a deep, unspoken bond between a leader and his people, and the quiet promise of a brighter, shared future. With Vespasian's clear vision firmly in place, the titanic undertaking of construction began around 70 CE. I often reflect on the sheer audacity of this project, not just in its scale, but in its profound meaning. This was not a temple to a god, nor a private residence for an emperor, but a gift, a grand gesture of imperial generosity intended solely for the citizens of Rome. It was to be a place where all could gather, a vibrant crucible of shared experience and public spectacle. The years of meticulous labor, the steady rhythmic sounds of hammers and chisels, the shouts of foremen, and the quiet determination of thousands of workers, unfolded beneath the Roman sun. And then, a decade later, in 80 CE, the moment arrived. Vespasian's son, Titus, who had taken up the imperial mantle after his father's passing, had the immense honor of officially opening the Colosseum. I can only imagine the palpable excitement that would have coursed through the city. The inauguration was not a simple ceremony. It was an event of truly epic proportions, a grand festival that stretched over an astonishing 100 days. Picture Rome during this time, the streets abuzz with anticipation, the air thick with the scent of roasted meats and wine, the sounds of music and cheering echoing from every corner. For over 3 months, the city was enveloped in a continuous celebration, a testament to the new amphitheater's significance. There would have been gladiatorial contests, animal hunts, theatrical performances, and public feasts, all designed to entertain, to dazzle, and to remind the populace of their emperor's benevolence. This prolonged festival was a powerful statement in itself, signifying not just the completion of a building, but the return of Rome's wealth and resources to its citizens. It was a tangible symbol of prosperity and imperial care, offering both material comfort and thrilling diversion. Beyond the sheer spectacle, the Colosseum was, at its very core, a profound political statement. It embodied Vespasian's initial promise, cementing his legacy and that of his son as leaders who truly understood the importance of connecting with their people. In an age where rulers often use their power for personal aggrandizement, the Colosseum stood as a magnificent counterpoint. a public edifice built specifically for the common good, a grand and enduring symbol of collective joy and communal identity. It was a place where the social fabric of Rome could knit itself together, where shared experiences, however fleeting, could forge a stronger bond between ruler and ruled. And as I drift through these historical moments, I sense the quiet pride, the renewed hope that would have settled over the Roman people. Watching this majestic structure rise and then come to life, a permanent reminder of a new era of generosity and shared purpose. Before the first magnificent arch of the Colosseum could grace the Roman sky, a far more fundamental battle had to be won. A silent war waged deep beneath the earth itself. I am always captivated by this hidden history, the story of the foundations that literally underpinned such an immense structure. The chosen site, as we know, was the location of Nero's artificial lake, a vast, watery expanse that had to be conquered and transformed. This was no small pond. It was a substantial body of water, and draining it completely was an engineering feat in itself. Imagine the methodical work, the legions of laborers, the continuous effort to divert the water, perhaps through temporary channels or with massive water wheels and human power, until the marshy ground lay exposed. Then, the true challenge began, digging down, deep into that soft, waterlogged earth. They had to excavate an incredible 26 feet below the surface, reaching solid ground, a stable base that could bear the weight of a building that would rise over 150 feet high. I picture the dark, damp soil, the sweat of the workers, the constant struggle against the ingress of groundwater, a testament to their relentless determination. Once the initial excavation was complete, the true foundation work commenced. In a brilliant stroke of engineering, the Romans sunk the massive foundations in concentric circles, mirroring the future shape of the amphitheater. The outer rim, which would support the colossal outer wall, required an even deeper trench, plunging an astonishing 42 feet into the earth. To comprehend this, imagine digging a hole almost as deep as a 4-story building, then filling it with a concrete and stone base designed to last for millennia. The scale of this initial, unseen labor is truly mind-boggling. But the ingenuity didn't stop there. The immense volume of earth excavated from these deep pits wasn't simply discarded. In a remarkable example of Roman resourcefulness, this earth was carefully repurposed, used to raise the surrounding land. This strategic elevation lifted the entire Colosseum an impressive 23 feet above the natural ground level. This clever maneuver served multiple purposes. It helped stabilize the foundations, provided a grander, more imposing base for the structure, and likely aided in overall drainage. Today, as we walk around the Colosseum, the landscape has subtly shifted over 2 millennia, making it appear almost level with the surrounding ground. But I like to pause and remember that beneath my feet lies a testament to monumental effort, a hidden landscape of drains and deep foundations, a quiet battle won against the earth itself, ensuring the mighty Colosseum could stand tall against the Roman sky. A true marvel built from the ground up, and then, in a sense, up again. The very soul of the Colosseum, its imposing structure and enduring strength, lies within the gleaming white travertine stone that forms its majestic facade. To understand the building, I believe, we must first journey to its source. For the Romans, this meant traveling approximately 20 miles northeast of the city, to the ancient quarries near Tivoli. I envision the landscape there, sun-drenched hillsides, the air thick with the dust of stone, the rhythmic clang of hammers against rock echoing across the valleys. This wasn't merely a mining operation. It was the birth of a monument, stone by stone. But extracting the stone was only the first step of an immense logistical challenge. Moving literally hundreds of thousands of tons of this heavy material to the construction site in the heart of Rome required an infrastructure project in itself. The Romans, ever practical and efficient, didn't simply rely on existing paths. They built a special, dedicated road designed specifically for the rigorous transport of this colossal building material. Imagine the painstaking planning, the surveying, the sheer manual labor involved in carving out such a route, smoothing it, and fortifying it for the constant, heavy traffic it would endure. And then, picture the endless procession, an estimated 240,000 cartloads of travertine stone, each lumbering vehicle carrying perhaps 30 to 50 individual blocks, slowly making their way along this custom-built road, day in and day out, for years. I try to visualize the sheer scale of this movement, the creak of wooden wheels, the strain of the oxen, the shouts of the teamsters, the clouds of dust kicked up with every revolution. It must have been a sight of relentless, methodical activity, a river of stone flowing steadily towards its grand destination. This monumental effort was powered by an equally monumental workforce. It is estimated that between 20,000 and 30,000 workers were involved in the Colosseum's construction, a staggering number. And heartbreakingly, a significant portion of these laborers, perhaps the majority, were enslaved individuals. I often pause here to reflect on the human cost behind such imperial grandeur. Imagine their lives, the grueling work from dawn till dusk, the sweat, the calloused hands, the aching backs, the relentless pressure. They toiled under the sun, lifting, dragging, shaping these massive stones, their individual stories lost to time, but their collective effort immortalized in the very fabric of the Colosseum. Though their names are forgotten, their strength, their skill, and their enduring labor are woven into every arch and every column. As I trace the contours of the Colosseum's sturdy walls, I feel the quiet echo of their work, a solemn reminder that behind every magnificent structure, there are countless human hands and hearts that brought it into being, shaping not just stone, but history itself. As I contemplate the sheer impossibility of the Colosseum's grand design, I am consistently drawn to one of Rome's most enduring and transformative innovations: concrete. This wasn't merely a building material, it was, in many ways, an alchemist's mix, a transformative substance that allowed Roman architects and engineers to dream in ways their predecessors could only imagine. Before concrete, structures were largely limited by the tensile strength of stone and brick, leading to heavy, solid constructions. But with concrete, suddenly, the possibilities expanded exponentially. It allowed for the creation of vast, soaring arches, intricate vaults, and, crucially for a public gathering space, interiors that could be light-filled and open rather than dark and cavernous. I like to think of the ingredients as a kind of ancient recipe, deceptively simple yet profoundly powerful. The cement, the binding agent of concrete, was primarily made from limestone. This limestone was heated in kilns to produce quicklime, a reactive powder. When mixed with water, sand, and aggregates like volcanic ash or crushed rock, it created a slurry that could be poured into forms and, upon hardening, would become incredibly strong and durable. The addition of volcanic ash, particularly pozzolana from the Bay of Naples, gave Roman concrete its remarkable ability to set underwater and its legendary longevity. Imagine the simple yet profound magic of taking these basic elements from the earth and transforming them into a substance capable of supporting such a monumental structure. This innovative material wasn't simply thrown together. It was guided by a deep understanding of structural principles. Roman engineers, through empirical knowledge and generations of experience, often utilized an ideal 5:3 ratio in their designs. This ratio, while not a strict rule for every aspect, reflects their sophisticated grasp of proportion and stability, ensuring that the structures they built were not only aesthetically pleasing, but also robust enough to withstand the test of time. It was a silent language of balance and strength, encoded in the very dimensions of the building. Consider the precision required for a structure of this scale. The arena itself, the central stage for all the spectacles, measured approximately 272 feet in length by 163 feet in width. This wasn't a rough estimate. It was a carefully calibrated space, designed to accommodate specific events and large crowds. And this precision extended to every detail. The Colosseum featured an astonishing 88 entrance arches, each one evenly spaced and meticulously constructed. I imagine the detailed planning that went into this, the careful measurements, the constant checks and balances to ensure perfect symmetry and structural integrity across such a vast, curved facade. Every arch, every stone, every measurement played a critical role in the harmonious and enduring majesty of this Roman marvel. It was a testament to their dedication to both the art and science of building, where simple ingredients and thoughtful ratios created a masterpiece that still inspires awe today. The construction of the Colosseum, as I delved deeper into its history, was a marvel of logistical coordination and innovative building techniques, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible in the ancient world. One of the most striking innovations was the method of simultaneous construction. Instead of building layer by layer from the ground up, in a single, continuous vertical movement, the Romans tackled the project with a multi-pronged approach. They built the arches first, the skeletal framework of the entire structure, which then allowed teams to work both above and below these completed sections. I envision the site as a bustling, almost choreographed symphony of labor. Imagine massive wooden scaffolding clinging to the rising walls, a complex lattice supporting workers at multiple elevations. While one team was meticulously setting the keystone of an arch on a lower level, another group could already be laying the foundations for the upper seating tiers and the grand porticos high above. This parallel progression was nothing short of astonishing and was a significant factor in the speed of the Colosseum's completion. It's as if the building was rising not in a linear fashion, but unfolding simultaneously across its vast circular expanse, a vibrant beehive of activity. This incredible efficiency allowed the Colosseum to be completed in under a decade, a truly breathtaking achievement for the time, especially given its gargantuan scale and the technology available. It speaks volumes about the organization, engineering acumen, and sheer human will that went into the project. As the building rose, so too did the subtle, yet distinct, markers of Roman society. The seating arrangements within the Colosseum were a clear reflection of the empire's rigid social hierarchy. The lower seats, closest to the action and offering the best views, were crafted from exquisite marble or finely cut travertine stone. These were the privileged seats, reserved for the emperor, senators, vestal virgins, and other members of the Roman elite. I imagine the intricate carvings, the comfortable, ample space, the quiet dignity of these prime locations. However, As one ascended to the upper levels, the experience became markedly different. Here, the seating grew increasingly cramped, often made of less ornate stone or even wood. These were the sections designated for the poorer classes, the common citizens who still cherished the opportunity to witness the spectacles but were packed tightly together, enduring the sun or the chill winds. While historical details sometimes leave the precise divisions a little hazy, the intention was clear even in this public space. The social order of Rome was meticulously maintained, etched into the very architecture of the seating, the Colosseum. Then was not just a marvel of engineering, it was a powerful, layered statement about both Roman ambition and its stratified society, a place where all could gather, but not all were equal, or were. As I walk, in my mind's eye, through the colossal structure of the Colosseum, I'm reminded that its brilliance extended far beyond its grand spectacle and formidable construction. The practicalities of hosting tens of thousands of people demanded equally ingenious solutions, particularly concerning water and sanitation. Even in ancient Rome, the comfort and hygiene of such a vast crowd were paramount, and the engineers addressed this with remarkable foresight. Consider the latrines, a less glamorous but utterly essential aspect of any large public venue. Within the Colosseum, these were designed with elegant simplicity, rows of stone or wooden seats with simple holes, positioned over a continuous flow of running water. This constant stream of water would have effectively carried waste away, emptying into the city's sophisticated sewer system. I imagine the gentle gurgle of this flowing water, a soft, constant sound accompanying the murmurs of the crowd, serving a vital function while minimizing unpleasantness in such a grand space. This internal plumbing was not isolated, but was seamlessly connected to Rome's legendary Cloaca Maxima, the greatest sewer, a sprawling network of underground channels that had served the city for centuries. This ancient infrastructure was a testament to Roman urban planning, ensuring that the waste from the Colosseum, along with much of the city's refuse, was efficiently channeled away, ultimately flowing into the Tiber River. It speaks volumes about their understanding of public health and city management, a quiet marvel running beneath the bustling streets. To supply the enormous amounts of water needed for these latrines, as well as for drinking fountains, cleaning, and indeed, for some of the spectacles themselves, the Colosseum relied on Rome's extensive aqueduct system. The Aqua Claudia, one of the city's most impressive aqueducts, fed large cisterns located within or near the Colosseum. From these reservoirs, an intricate network of pipes, crafted from durable lead and resilient terracotta, ran through the very walls and foundations of the amphitheater. I envision this hidden circulatory system, silently bringing life-sustaining water to every corner of the massive structure, a constant, unseen flow supporting the vibrant life above ground. While the engineering of water flow was incredibly precise, the arrangement of human flow, the seating divisions within the Colosseum, subtly reinforced Rome's social order. As I mentioned earlier, the separation of social classes within the seating areas was a clear reflection of Roman society. The closer one was to the arena floor, the higher one's social standing, while the precise boundaries and regulations governing who sat where could sometimes be complex and are debated by historians. It is clear that the Colosseum, for all its public access, was also a microcosm of Roman hierarchy. It offered a grand stage not only for entertainment, but also for the display of social status, a quiet, unspoken order that governed where each Roman citizen stood or sat within the vast, magnificent embrace of this iconic amphitheater. One of the most astonishing revelations about the Colosseum, a detail that never ceases to captivate my imagination, is the incredible versatility of its arena floor. When we look at the ruins today, we see the exposed underground complex, the hypogeum, but for its initial performances, the arena was an entirely different world. The Colosseum was designed with a removable arena floor, a modular system that allowed for a breathtaking transformation. This ingenious design meant that for certain spectacles, the entire floor could be taken away, revealing a watertight basin beneath. It was into this basin that the aqueducts, those arteries of Roman engineering, would channel massive quantities of water, gradually flooding the arena. I try to conjure the image in my mind, the slow, deliberate rise of the water, until the vast oval space was transformed into a shimmering, artificial lake. And what was the purpose of this incredible feat for mock naval battles, known as naumachie? Imagine small, specially constructed ships, manned by gladiators or prisoners, engaging in dramatic skirmishes and staged combat on this inland sea. The roar of the crowd, the splash of oars, the clash of weapons echoing against the towering walls, all reflecting on the water's surface. It must have been an utterly mesmerizing spectacle, unlike anything ever seen before or since. This incredible feature, however, was eventually discontinued. As the demands for more complex and elaborate land-based spectacles grew, the need arose for permanent underground structures. The wooden supports and mechanisms required for the removable floor and flooding were gradually replaced by more robust, permanent stone constructions, paving the way for the intricate hypogeum that lies beneath the arena today. This adaptation speaks to the evolving nature of the Colosseum, a structure that was continuously modified to meet the changing tastes and technical demands of Roman entertainment. But even after the naval battles ceased, the mastery of water management remained evident. When the arena was flooded, or even when it was dry, an innovative system of drainage canals was employed to empty the water quickly and efficiently. This network, hidden beneath the surface, ensured that the arena could be prepared for the next event with remarkable speed. A testament to Roman hydraulic engineering. These dramatic transformations, the shifting from a dry, dusty arena to a shimmering lake, then back again, not only showcased the unparalleled engineering prowess of the Romans, but also their profound understanding of theatricality. They knew how to create moments of pure wonder, to transport their audiences to different worlds within the same colossal structure. The Colosseum, in its early days, was a stage that could truly become anything, reflecting the boundless imagination of an empire that loved its spectacle as much as its conquest. Our journey through the Colosseum now takes us to two contrasting, yet equally vital spaces that truly reveal its depth and ingenuity: the bustling world beneath the arena and the serene shield above. Let us first descend into the hypogeum, a Greek word meaning under earth. This vast subterranean network, largely unseen by the ancient spectators, was the beating heart of the Colosseum's operational magic. I imagine the narrow, torch-lit passages, the air thick with the scent of damp earth, animal musk, and human exertion. This was a dark, noisy, hot, and undeniably dangerous world, a hive of ceaseless activity where workers, animals, and machinery converged. It was here that cages housed wild beasts, destined for the arena. Here, gladiators might have waited in the dim light, preparing for their fate. And here, The intricate machinery that brought the spectacles to life was meticulously operated. The late architect Heinz Jürgen Beste, whose groundbreaking research truly opened this world to modern eyes, discovered the elaborate system of tracks, ramps, and slots that crisscrossed the hypogeum. This was a highly organized, complex logistical puzzle. 60 capstans, massive winches operated by teams of men, were strategically positioned. These capstans would, with immense effort, lift cages containing animals or elaborate pieces of scenery through trap doors onto the arena floor above. Imagine the precision required, the timing, the sheer power needed to hoist a lion or a full-sized tree onto the stage, often in the blink of an eye, to the roar of the crowd. The stagecraft was an intricate dance, timed with the rhythmic beat of drums, the mournful notes of water organs, and the subtle cues from the arena above. It was a hidden world of synchronized effort, where hundreds of individuals worked in unison, unseen, to create the breathtaking illusions and dramatic entrances that captivated tens of thousands of spectators. Every roar, every surprise appearance, every shift in scenery was the result of immense, coordinated labor happening just out of sight, beneath the very feet of the audience. Now, let us ascend, from the darkness below to the light above, and look up to the sky. Hovering over the Colosseum on sunny days was another incredible innovation, the vela, a vast, retractable cloth awning. This colossal sunshade was operated much like the giant sails of a ship, providing welcome relief from the scorching Roman sun for the thousands of spectators below. I picture its immense fabric unfurling, creating a cool, shaded oasis over the roaring crowd, a testament to Roman ingenuity and comfort. Managing this intricate rigging, the ropes, pulleys, and levers necessary to deploy and retract such a massive awning, required specialized skills. This vital task fell to Roman Navy sailors, experienced in handling the complex sails of warships. And in a poignant detail that adds another layer to the Colosseum story, many of these sailors were enslaved foreigners. They were, however, often promised their freedom upon completion of their service, a powerful incentive for mastering this dangerous and demanding role. And so, we see the Colosseum not just as a static ruin, but as a dynamic, living entity. It was a marvel that seamlessly blended breathtaking architecture with shrewd political statements, from its symbolic placement on Nero's former grounds to its stratified seating. It was a stage for unparalleled spectacle, where the genius of engineering brought mock naval battles and surprise animal appearances to life. And it was a microcosm of Roman society, reflecting its hierarchies, its reliance on enslaved labor, and its capacity for both grand gestures and subtle comforts. As I close my eyes on this journey, I leave you with the quiet echoes of this incredible structure, a place where innovation, politics, and humanity intertwined, leaving us with a profound sense of wonder at what the ancient world could achieve. And perhaps a gentle reflection on the stories these ancient stones still whisper in the quiet of the night.